It's 6 o'clock on Tuesday, the 15th of October 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Alexandra, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. At least 2 European countries are expected this week to say no to Albania and North Macedonia for opening talks with the European Union. The stance of the foreign ministers of the Netherlands and France was announced at the start of today as the consultations on the decision for the 2 Balkan states began. Both countries have made lots of effort. With regards to North Macedonia, we believe there is one important step to be taken, and that is the law on the prosecutor's office. If that condition is fulfilled, we believe that accession negotiations should start. With regards to Albania, we believe there is more work to be done and that they are not yet ready to start accession negotiations, said the Foreign Minister for the Netherlands to reporters. His counterpart from France also gave a signal of their intention to refuse. In principle, France does not oppose the Western Balkans' perspective to join the European Union. We know this is a tedious, lengthy process, but first we need to make sure that the reforms undertaken are real and credible to give confidence to both the region and Europe, said France's European Affairs Minister, Amélie de Montchalin. Germany, as they have before, called on its European counterparts to take a more constructive stance on Tirana and Skopje, despite their reservations. The European Union is responsible for peace, stability, democracy and reconciliation in the Western Balkans, and that means we have to keep our promises, said the German Minister for Europe, Michael Roth. The European Union foreign ministers met in Luxembourg today to complete the draft conclusions, which will be approved within 3 days for Albania and North Macedonia. The acting Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of Albania, Gent Sakai, has called the meeting historic as it is expected to seal Albania's fate and also praise our country for having undertaken the most ambitious and courageous reforms in the region. Another delay could slow or even derail progress and reforms, not to mention undermine the EU's credibility and risk boosting the positions of strategic rivals throughout the Western Balkans. This is the hour of Europe. We don't need a narrow, insular, inward-looking, disengaged EU, but one that is open, fair and a beacon of hope in troubled times, posted Sakai via Twitter. Meanwhile, Johannes Hahn just gave a press conference confirming that 25 out of the 27 EU states have given the green light for Albania. ODIHR Mission Chief Audrey Glover returned to Tirana a few days before the final decision on Albania's negotiations with the European Union, which has made electoral reform as a key condition. Glover met separately with Democratic Party leader Lulzim Basha and the Socialist Movement for Integration leader Monika Kuramadi, with whom he learned to discuss the proposals for reform. After meeting with the Democratic Party leader, Glover declined to talk much about the media, saying he was continuing to work on recommendations left on June 30th. Glover will continue meeting in Tirana for the next 2 days with a post-June 30 report stating that they were in a climate of stalemate and political polarisation and voters were unable to choose between some political options. The majority is continuing work on the Electoral Reform Commission without the opposition. The latter has begun work to come up with a parallel draft that will be made public in the coming days. Through an official letter addressed to the Assembly on October 11, 7 new opposition MPs have submitted their signatures for changes in the parliamentary group structure, dismissing group leader Rudina Hajdari. During discussions at a meeting without Hajdari, Korab Lita was determined as the new leader of the group. Lita himself announced the change through a Facebook status on Monday afternoon. Immediately afterwards came the reaction of MP Rudina Hajdari, who denounced Lita and stressed that there was no change in the structure of the Democratic group, which meant that Hajdari would continue to lead and even expand this group. As such, it seems the parliamentary opposition is split in 2 and may be moving towards the creation of 2 special groups. Korab Lita explained to the media that it was Rudina Hajdari herself who chose to resign. On October 10, 2019, the parliamentary group meeting was held during which the functioning of the parliamentary group was discussed. After all problems were presented, Mrs. Hajdari was asked to quit from the leadership of the group in order to focus on other important duties. Ms. Hajdari verbally declared her resignation and then the group went through the process of electing its replacement leader, said Korab Lita. The leader of the Conservative Party, Koitim Juzi, came out in support of Radina Haidari, accusing old-school politicians of wanting to divide the opposition. One of the MPs who initially agreed with the changes in the opposition leadership group, Halit Valtere, withdrew his signature, saying it was a misunderstanding and would be clarified at Thursday's hearing. The Tirana prosecution has decided to extend investigations into opposition leader Lulzim Basha, former MP Arben Ristani, and the Democratic Party financier Ilir Dervishi by 3 months. The 3 Democratic Party officials are under investigation for suspected money laundering and submitting fraudulent forms regarding Russian funding in the United States for the 2017 parliamentary elections. The reason for prolonging the investigations is the delay in receiving the letter of order from the USA. Lulzim Basha, along with the former Democratic Party Secretary General and Ilir Dervishi, according to the prosecution, are accused of falsifying sources and concealing funding. The Democratic Party leader is accused of hiding $650,000 worth of funding for the 2017 election campaign. Tirana prosecution has also been assisted by the United States of America and their FBI, who provided data and information for the investigations. Specifically, Basha, Ristani and Dervishi face the aggravated charges of laundering the proceeds of crime or money laundering and forgery of stamps or forms, charges that run the risk of up to 10 years in prison. The government has yet to make their final decision as to whether or not they will provide an end-of-year bonus to pensioners this year. In discussing the budget change due to the earthquake, the chair of the Economy Commission, Arben Ahmetai, has requested that the end-of-year bonus be reallocated for damage repair funds. However, for Finance Minister Anila Denai, being able to provide an end-of-year bonus will depend on the realisation of budget revenues. The Economic Commission has approved the changes for the budget for 2019, which has been directly affected by earthquake damage, as well as the non-realisation of expected budget revenues. The Economy Committee head, Arben Ahmetai, was critical of the Finance Ministry, demanding they take greater care of their arrears since it creates a burden on the budget. However, the Finance Ministry retorted that there was a decrease in liabilities over the last 9 months from 115.6 to 115.2 billion lek. There is currently no receipt for earthquake damage, and as such, it is unknown how much pressure the event will place on the budget. What is known, however, is that the state budget has suffered from a lack of realising revenue to the value of 3 billion lek. The 61 municipalities that have been led by the majority since June this year will receive more money from the state budget. At the start of the discussion on the 2020 budget for local governments, an increase of 11.2% or 5.7 billion lek is projected. The majority of the funding will go towards the preschool education. Deputy Finance Minister Elton Haji urged the mayors to be careful not to create arrears and to collect property tax. Meanwhile, the chair of Tirana's council, Aldrin Dalipi, demanded more attention to the emergency funds contained within this budget. In total, transfers from the central budget to municipalities are projected to be 25.4 billion lek. Acting Democratic Chair Volkana Ademi was also included in this discussion. $61 million lek is the total of outstanding liabilities that businesses owe to the municipality of Leisure. 20 million lek worth of that debt has arisen this year alone, while the remainder has been carried over from previous years. The Mayor of Leisure has warned that this situation cannot continue to be tolerated. At the meeting of the Municipal Council, the Mayor of Leisure, Pierre Nindreu, said that the deadline for repayment of liabilities will be the end of the year to avoid recovery measures, such as the blocking of bank accounts. Municipal councillors are demanding that investments in leisure focus not only on the city centre, but also on the outskirts and the rural areas. However, according to local authorities, debts owed by businesses make it impossible to carry out all projects to improve infrastructure and services. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and good night.